Imagine over 100 years of ads constantly selling you joy in a bottle. Billions were spent linking Coke with smiling friends sharing good times. The world's most recognizable brand turned into a global symbol of happiness. All from some bubbly brown sugar water created by an injured Civil War vet hooked on morphine. But is Coke truly delivering joy and community to the world? Or could that shiny, fizzy image distract from a disturbing hidden history of disease, pollution, exploitation, and more darkness than its ads glowingly admit? Let's explore Coke's wild history over 3 centuries. We'll see how it became one of the most famous brands ever, but at what cost? It started when people doubted doctors in the 1880s and used home remedies instead. Shady sellers saw a chance to make a buck. They mixed chemicals and claimed their potions cured anything. With no rules, they could say whatever they wanted. Business boomed. One popular medicine was Vin Mariani. It supposedly fixed any health issue if you drank 3 glasses a day. John Pemberton loved this drink. He was a war vet nearly killed in battle. The doctors dosed him with morphine, thinking he'd die. But John survived and got addicted. When he found Vin Mariani, it seemed to help his addiction. Of course, he felt better. It had wine and cocaine. Since Pemberton loved the drink and was a chemist, he made his own version in 1884. This ripoff of Vin Mariani had more ingredients added. It would soon become Coca-Cola. Now, Pemberton wasn't a crook. He believed his products worked. But his timing was awful. Just a year later, states banned alcohol. Pemberton took out the wine and added bubbly water instead, but now it tasted bitter. So he poured in tons of sugar to make it sweeter. With no wine, he couldn't call it French wine Coca anymore. Luckily, his bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, suggested a catchy new name, Coca-Cola. Later, Coke said the name means nothing, but that's a lie. It referred to 2 key ingredients, cola, with caffeine, and coca leaves, with cocaine. Yet to this day, Coke denies cocaine was ever added. But early on, Coca-Cola clearly contained coca leaves with cocaine inside. Not until 1929 did they remove all active cocaine, once it was obviously not some magical cure. In the 1880s, though, the cocaine was no worry. The problem was, few people bought Pemberton's drink at first. Early ads called Coca-Cola a wonderful brain tonic, relieving headaches and upset stomachs. But sales were slow, with so many similar patent medicines around. Meanwhile, Pemberton got sicker. His pain and addiction worsened. By 1888, he was dead, not knowing Coke would soon be globally famous. Just before dying, Pemberton sold Coke for $2,300 to a tireless worker named Asa Candler. Candler started buying up any remaining shares so he'd fully control the company. Later, it seemed some documents he used might have had forged signatures. We can't know for sure since Candler burned early company records, likely hiding his tracks. But none of that mattered because soon Candler led Coke by himself. Yet back then, Coke wasn't popular. So Candler covered the town in banners, billboards, and ads, putting the logo everywhere so people saw it daily. One smart early tactic was getting pharmacy customer lists and mailing them free Coke coupons. The logic was giving free samples hooks you for life, especially with addictive ingredients like caffeine and cocaine inside. But Candler soon realized medicine claims were the wrong path. Instead of just targeting the sick, Coke could appeal to everyone as a tasty, fun drink for all occasions. This also disconnected Coke from the patent medicine industry, which would soon be scrutinized for lying. Mass marketing worked wonderfully. As sales climbed rapidly, Candler put more and more cash into ads. He paid celebrities and athletes to praise the drink too. Connecting Coke with fame and popularity worked magic. He even featured Santa Claus frequently in Christmas ads, mentally linking Coke with holiday joy for kids. Nowadays, this seems ordinary, but back then, it was groundbreaking. Coke pioneered strategies that became commonplace. like using attractive Coca-Cola girls to sexually attract male attention. Coke even analyzed traffic flow and supermarket layouts to scientifically place ads for maximum impact. As new tech like radio and TV emerged, Coke quickly dominated there too. Soon everyone and everywhere knew Coca-Cola. At first though, Coke was mostly mixed and served at soda fountains. This saved loads on shipping because Coke only had to distribute syrup. But then two lawyers, Benjamin and Joseph, had a bright idea. Let's bottle it. Candler thought it was silly. Bottling seemed complicated and pricey. But the lawyers said they'd take all the costs and risks. So Candler agreed, granting them forever bottling rights for just $1. After all, what did he have to lose? We now know bottled Coke was a smash success. But Candler's sloppy contract was a huge problem. He'd set no time limit and didn't protect against price hikes for ingredients. This lets the bottling brothers eternally buy Coke syrup for the same low price, even if sugarcane prices skyrocketed. For decades, Coke battled the bottlers in court, ultimately paying untold millions to regain some control, all because Candler sold those forever rights for $1. But back then, sales grew non-stop. Yet it wasn't the drink itself. Countless similar beverages existed, including the one Coke copied, but no competitors matched Coke's marketing budget. Every year they spent more on ads, and every year sales climbed higher. Arguably, Coke's biggest success started surprisingly. When sugar rationing began during World War II, Coke absurdly claimed they deserved an exemption because they were essential for the war effort. Even more absurd, the government agreed. Likely, this resulted from intense Coke lobbying and questionable research they funded attesting to Coke's benefits. Eventually, a Coke executive even got appointed to the Sugar Rationing Board, who then exempted Coke from cuts. And Coke's president made an epic promise. We will see that every man in uniform gets a bottle of Coca-Cola for 5 cents, wherever he is and whatever it costs our company. Now at that price, Coke would actually lose money on each sale, but this decision was pure genius. First, it strongly connected Coke with patriotism and the war effort, generating huge public goodwill, especially among soldiers. For millions of Americans, Coke and pride for your country became linked. Coke seized this chance to run new wartime ads showing happy soldiers guzzling Coke. But secretly, Coke had struck a deal to get government funding for overseas bottling plants. They claimed spreading Coke abroad would benefit America's image and lift soldier morale. What this really meant, though, is taxpayers helped fund Coke's global expansion. By the war's end, 64 Coke bottling plants had been built worldwide, mostly with government money. Even the guys installing Coke's overseas equipment were deemed as vital to the war as the mechanics repairing tanks and planes. And as grateful soldiers introduced locals to Coke wherever they were stationed, its availability spread to additional countries. The US military basically became a taxpayer-funded international marketing team for Coke. So, while World War II devastated most companies, Coke expanded faster than ever globally. Only 2 countries have no Coca-Cola, Cuba and North Korea. And those World War II deals largely established Coke's worldwide reach. Now, doesn't that sound nice? Coke as a sweet company supporting the troops? Well, actually, during World War II, Coca-Cola was also supplying Nazi Germany with Coke the whole time. Yup. While preaching patriotism at home, in Germany, Coke actively downplayed anything American, often pictured alongside swastikas. Coke was even served at Hitler Youth rallies and advertised in Nazi school materials. Playing both sides kept those German profits flowing. Of course, when wartime limits cut German access to Allied goods, most multinationals had to halt sales there. But Max Keith, head of Coke's German bottling, had a clever idea. He got chemists to concoct a new drink vaguely like Coke, but rather than Coke syrup, they used food scraps like apple fibers left over from wartime rationing. This drink was later called Fanta. With other sodas banned, Fanta became a huge wartime hit in Germany. Some suggest Keith relied on forced labor from concentration camps for production. What's confirmed is after the war, he got promoted within Coca-Cola for his wartime profits. By 1955, Fanta was being sold in countries worldwide. Fast forward, Coke became the world's top soda, but competitors fought for every sip. One of their biggest competitors is Pepsi. When Coke once had the chance to buy Pepsi for peanuts, they declined. Instead, they sued Pepsi for using cola in ads, claiming it ripped off Coke. But this backfired when Pepsi countersued over anti-competitive tactics. The court agreed, ruling cola was generic. With Coke missing its chance to acquire Pepsi, an ongoing marketing war erupted between the two companies. At one point, they slashed prices, trying to undercut each other. But soon both sides suffered, so they reverted prices back up and focused on advertising instead. Then Pepsi had a game-changing idea, actually competing on taste. In 1975, they launched the Pepsi Challenge, making people taste 2 unmarked samples, 1 Pepsi and 1 Coke. More people preferred Pepsi, even though they didn't know which was which. Pepsi trumpeted these results in ads across America. Millions of irritated Coke loyalists called it fake news and conducted their own tests to prove Coke tasted better. But blind test after blind test kept indicating Pepsi scored slightly higher. Meanwhile, Coke was slowly but steadily losing market share year after year as Pepsi edged upwards. Coke tried everything: huge campaigns, discounts, coupons. But people just seemed to like the taste of Pepsi more. Realizing they needed to make a change after almost a century of the same beloved recipe, Coke began a top-secret mission. They were going to change the formula for the first time ever. On April 23, 1985, Coke announced a new formula, hoping to refresh the brand and woo back customers.
Coca-Cola is about to announce what it calls the most significant development in its history. James McManus reports.
The formula for Coca-Cola is called Merchandise 7X, a recipe so secret that it's locked inside this Atlanta bank vault, so successful that it's been tinkered with, but never dramatically changed in nearly 100 years. But tomorrow, Coca-Cola Company will tell a thirsty world it's putting a smoother, sweeter taste into the most instantly recognizable bottle in the world.
The new liquid was sweeter and smoother, engineered to taste more Pepsi-like. It was a major shift after decades of the same beloved formula. Extensive market research and tasting tests backed up the change. Coke was confident people would love the new flavor. Yet the public response was overwhelmingly negative. Coke fans felt stabbed in the back by the sudden swap. Protests erupted nationwide. People stockpiled the original, even selling it at crazy marked-up prices. The outrage was so white-hot, Coke had to rethink things fast. Less than 3 months later, on July 10, 1985, Coke announced the return of the classic formula under the name Coca-Cola Classic. They framed it as listening to the passionate outcry of loyal consumers who missed the familiar, comforting taste. Coke Classic would be sold alongside the new sweeter formula, newly renamed New Coke. That way, drinkers could choose between the fresh flavor or the nostalgic original. Ultimately, this seeming blunder benefited Coke enormously. Reintroducing the classic formula catalyzed a mammoth sales spike and restored warm public sentiment. New Coke, meanwhile, slid steadily in popularity before being discontinued. Known forever after as the New Coke Debacle, it remains a famous case study of brand loyalty's power to sway huge corporations when customers speak out.
I'm Don Keogh, president of the Coca-Cola Company. When we brought you the new taste of Coke, we knew that millions would prefer it, and millions do. And we knew that it would beat the taste of our major competitor, and it does. What we didn't know was how many thousands of you would phone and write asking us to bring back the classic taste of original Coca-Cola. Well, we read and we listened, and you know the rest. They're both yours, the new taste of Coke and Coca-Cola Classic. Your right of choice is back.
Despite the new Coke misstep, Coke still dominates the global soft drink market today. Their portfolio diversified over the years as new options like Diet Coke, Cherry Coke, and Coffee Coke joined the ranks. As consumer preferences evolved, Coke's marketing adapted, resonating with changing cultural trends. Yet, their core brand vision, anchored in joy, togetherness, and refreshment, persevered. Throughout its history, Coca-Cola has faced occasional controversies, criticisms, and challenges. early ties to patent medicine and cocaine, environmental worries, health concerns, shady international business dealings, Coke navigated a minefield. But through smart innovations, bold marketing, and flexibility, Coke remains a top global brand. Entering the 21st century, Coke continues pioneering new territory in keeping with emerging consumer interests. Digital marketing, sustainability drives, and partnerships reveal Coke's willingness to embrace new ideas for future growth while keeping its legacy intact. Beyond beverages, Coke now dips its toes into snack foods, coffees, energy drinks, and more. However, as people's tastes evolve, Coca-Cola's ability to capture the cultural zeitgeist and resonate with what drinkers crave suggests more epic chapters still lie ahead. So in the end, Coca-Cola's long winding story reveals much about the changing nature of consumer culture over the past century plus. From promising miracle cures to becoming a globally cherished icon etched into our shared experience, Coke's ability to adapt and capture our imaginations secures its place in history. But how long can a company built on spin endure? Wherever this fizzy juggernaut rolls next, expect sweet talk with a bitter aftertaste. And there you have it, the long, bubbly history of Coca-Cola revealed. Over a century of ingenious marketing transformations has made Coke synonymous worldwide with enjoyment and community. Yet also, questionable decisions and controversial impacts on health and society are swept under the rug. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Coca-Cola's wild history, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Brandcast for more gripping business stories.